Greetings, Earthlings. So I waited a couple days to put this out, only because there's so much to dissect with this. Not necessarily all in a good way either, but I love doing reviews like a couple days after, because then I can get some weekend numbers and I can get some feedback. You know, if you don't follow LeBron James, he just posted this article that I'm going to go ahead and read to you real quick. But he posted it that just says, "To the haters." And it was a link to this Deadline article. So it's pretty interesting. Before we get into the full review, of course, we're going to do that. But, yesterday, which is Saturday, the day after the event of Space Jam: A New Legacy, Warner Brothers long awaited a sequel for the 25-year-old family classic Space Jam. Of course, we know was the GOAT. Michael Jordan was in that one. And that was 25 years ago. That's crazy. Space Jam: A New Legacy had a 4-point shot at the box office yesterday with $13.1 million at over 3,900 movie theaters, I assume worldwide. It doesn't say here, for what will be a $32 million opening weekend. Wow. So obviously with, all the way up till today, within 72 hours, $32 million bucks, averaging, looks like about 8 to 10 million a day. The results squashed the second Friday and anticipated weekend of Disney/Marvel's Black Widow, which did $8 million yesterday. One of the worst Friday to Friday drops for the recent standalone origin MCU title. So, obviously it crushed Black Widow. And if you've seen Black Widow, we won't do a review on that. But that's not surprising to not stand parallel with other MCU movies. But let's get into Space Jam: A New Legacy. So there's a couple things here I want to talk about. First off, I thought from the get-go they did a pretty good job of making it like the first one, meaning it's kind of all about LeBron James, right? Like the very first Space Jam, it was all about Jordan. We'll get into why that's different from both movies, but they did a good job kind of giving him like a little biography. So that's kind of cool, I guess, because you get a feel for the character, in this case, LeBron James, right in the beginning, the first couple minutes and into the credits. It kind of goes into, same thing with it, they did with the first Monster Jam, with the first Space Jam, which is kind of give career highlights, and then boom, it flashes to today. So there's a few things, but the main thing I wasn't a fan of is you did a good job in the beginning kind of getting me like, oh, this is kind of like, it's like Space Jam. All right, cool. Oh, origin story. Okay. Career highlights. I love it. Oh, he's a kid. He's intense. All right, cool. And then it kind of started already dipping into like too much of LeBron James acting, like with his kids. And don't get me wrong, I love LeBron James. Not only is he a great athlete, but overall he's a good dude. He's a good person, does a lot for charity, has a lot of great things that he does. And I loved him in Trainwreck. I thought he was a great actor in Trainwreck. If you haven't seen that, that's probably one of the funniest movies you'll see. It's a great movie, but look it up, Trainwreck. Check it out. I think it's on Amazon maybe. He was a great actor in that, and he was just being LeBron James, as a basketball player in that one. So he wasn't really acting, right? I mean, he was just being him. Here, it's the same thing. It's just him. He's LeBron James, and he's hanging out with his family. But man, I don't know if he was just trying too hard or there was a lot of pressure on him. Maybe the director said certain things, but you could tell it was just not, like he was trying too hard to act and it wasn't coming off very good. Like it wasn't being him. And I know that's kind of part of the story because he's supposed to be like in Space Jam, he's supposed to be this intense basketball player, father figure, and he's putting all this pressure on the kids and yada, yada, yada. But man, he just did not. I wasn't sold on that. It wasn't good. So that was like the first 4 minutes of the movie. So already I'm kind of like, Jesus. But then let's also talk about how obviously it's all about LeBron James, just like Space Jam in the beginning, 25 years ago with Jordan. It was all about Jordan. But Jordan had Bill Murray, and he had different actors, and he had supporting Danny DeVito, and he had like all these, by that I mean, the animated Danny DeVito, the villain. But it was like all these supporting actors that kind of held the movie up, in my opinion. Like Michael Jordan didn't really act. He didn't say a lot, which was perfect because he's not a good actor. But this was like a lot about LeBron and his kids and his family. And then they started doing this like high-tech algorithm type thing with Donnie Boy as the villain, which he was a great villain. No complaints here. But man, it was just a little bit too like, it was too much. It was too Warner Brothers-y. Like there's so many references throughout the movie, obviously, that, like in the beginning when he's going through all these worlds, like it was kind of cool to see that, I guess, because he goes into DC world, which of course, I was a big fan of. And then, he goes through the Matrix, and it was almost like, it was kind of like this movie where like Warner Brothers was trying to promote all their properties, like in a very obvious way, where it's like, oh, the Matrix. Wait, is there another Matrix coming out? Ooh, there is. Ooh, let's talk about it. It was just it was too much. It was too crazy. It was a lot to handle. It was like, you have to have ADHD to even be a part of this movie. There was just so much shit going on. And I just couldn't help throughout the whole time that this is like a Space Jam movie, right? So I'm comparing it to Space Jam, which is the wrong thing to do. Because to me, there was a few elements that could make you think this is a Space Jam movie. But then there's also not. Like, it's too high-tech, and there was too Ready Player One type of feelings, where it was like, all right, dude, chill the fuck out. This is a Space Jam. Like, this is supposed to be about Looney Tunes and basketball, right? I already told myself, all right, I need to stop comparing this to Space Jam with Michael Jordan, because this is not Space Jam. So when he gets sucked into Toon World, at that point I was over it. I was like, all right, this isn't Space Jam. This is a new movie, right? Because we know this isn't a sequel, right? We've been told this. Even in my review when I first saw the trailer, I was like, is it a sequel? Is it not a sequel? But then articles came out. LeBron even tweeted, directors tweeted, this is not a sequel. So I got sold on that. Finally. I was like, all right, this is not a Space Jam sequel. Stop comparing it, Tony. It's not going to be a Space Jam sequel. Within the first 30 minutes, there's the first one. But within this whole movie, there's about 4 or 5 references of the first Space Jam. Like, what the fuck, guys? So you're telling me this isn't a sequel. I'm anticipating, like, a reboot. And then you throw in Michael Jordan's name pretty much throughout the whole movie, as well as, like, Bugs Bunny says this flashback when they hop out of Toon World and LeBron asks Bugs to play basketball, and Bugs looks at the camera and goes, this is oddly familiar, Doc. Like, come on, guys. So it's a sequel? Okay. If it's a sequel, that's cool. But tell me it's a sequel. Don't tell me it's not a sequel and then throw in these little, Easter eggs throughout the whole movie, which, by the way, spoiler alert, at the very end when they actually play basketball, which was probably the only entertaining part in my opinion, but when they actually play basketball, the Monstars, the little guys before they got juiced up in the first Space Jam, they're at the ending. Spoiler alert, but they're there too. So it's like, guys, come on, man. What are we doing here? I mean, listen, overall, it's a fun movie, I guess. Maybe kids will enjoy it. I don't know. I think the Goon Squad, or what are they calling them? The Goon Squad, that's right. Yeah, they're not the Monstars anymore. They're the Goon Squad. So the Goon Squad, those guys are terrifying. And I wouldn't let my kid watch it. Like, one's like, a snake that slithers all over the place, and the other one's a spider, and they're pretty terrifying. I'm not going to lie. Like, the Monstars, what I liked about that is it was, like, kid-friendly. They were cartoons, and they were drooling around, making funny jokes. Danny DeVito was the boss. Like, it was fantastic. There was a lot of comedy in it, and, a lot of goofiness, and they're tunes, right? Like, that's the whole idea. But this was very CGI. This was very, the whole movie, Bugs Bunny and them weren't cartoons. They were CGI. And I guess that kind of made sense considering if you watch the ending of it. What I did like about it, like all the Warner Brothers characters came, like King Kong was watching the movie. Of course, there was Joker and Batman and the Night Walkers from Game of Thrones, and Back to the Future references. So it was kind of cool to see that. But to me, again, I say it was very Ready Player One. There was just a lot of things I think they were trying too hard. I think if they made it more simple and they made it cartoonish, and instead of CGI, like, you know, I don't care who you are, what age you are, but if you watch Space Jam today, the original, it stands true. You know, this you couldn't watch back in the 90s, right? Like, it's just too much. So I think people went into it kind of thinking it was going to be a new Space Jam, a new reboot, but it was very high tech. It was kind of tough to follow because there was a lot going on. I don't know. I thought it was going to be a lot better. It was definitely fun, though. Like, if I had to rate it, I don't know what Rotten Tomatoes or anything are giving it, but I mean, if I had to rate it out of 5 stars, I mean, it's 3 stars. You know, it's not a horrible movie. I wouldn't watch it again. I think it's a fun thing to watch. I don't know if I would pay in the theaters if I knew, you know, what it was. It was just a lot. It was a lot going on, and I thought it was kind of cool that they included all the Warner Brothers characters, but it just seemed a little bit too, like, you're trying too hard. Like, make it about LeBron, make it about Looney Tunes, because that's fun. You know, Roger Rabbit, that's a fun movie, right? Because it's humans and cartoons. But this was like something weird. It was something funky. Not horrible. Again, I think it was a lot of fun. The best part to me was when they were actually playing basketball. That was the most entertaining because that was the funniest. There was a lot more references. The Looney Tunes really showcased what they could do. But from the get-go of the original Space Jam, the Looney Tunes were funny all the way to the end. With this one, it's like it wasn't really about the Looney Tunes until the last 45 minutes. That's why I watched that shit, because I want to be a kid and I want to watch Looney Tunes. But if you're not doing it for a 36-year-old, then what are you making this movie for? What are you making it for, the kids? No. The kids would be terrified about this. There were so many crazy things going on. I don't know. Overall, again, worth the watch, but you're not going to come away thinking, oh my God, I hope they make a sequel. So anyway, LeBron, you're great at basketball, bro. We love you. But, you know, stick to basketball.